Hi, we don't know each other. If I mention this is a cold call, would you throw your phone out the window?
Probably, yeah.
Because of my voice, or you just hate cold calls?
I don't take cold calls normally.
What about the good ones?
Go on, get to the point. What are you trying to tell me?
Well, if I said it's literally what I do is I get brought in by managing directors to train teams out of problems like they don't make enough cold calls, or when they do make cold calls, they lack personality or don't deal with objections properly. You're probably going to tell me you got the best cold callers in the country already.
No. Carry on.
Well, out of the two problems, just to give you a bit more information, is it more that they don't make enough calls, or is it that they sound a bit awkward or don't deal with objections when they do?
Probably more the second one.
The second one. So they're happy to make calls. At least the volume is okay, but when they do make the calls, they're not having the right conversations.
Yes.
Okay. Would you want to give me an example of what that actually looks like on a day-to-day basis, just so I get an idea?
In what sense?
Like when you say they don't handle objections properly, like could you give me a practical example, just so I get an idea where you're at?
Okay. Might not be unable to get through to the correct people. If an objection is fired at them, might not be able to answer it correctly, might not be asking the right questions initially to get the right response. And I think one of the biggest things I witness, not just with my team, but generally, is people don't tend to listen. They're too busy thinking about what they're going to say next, rather than asking a question and basically shutting up and waiting for the other person to answer.
Okay, I understand. So it basically sounds like you have like the guys are like quite eager to get on the phone, but then it's more like me, or trying to like arm wrestle the prospect rather than sitting back listening and asking the right questions to figure out what could be fixed essentially.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's an issue all the time, but I want to say, but in sales, in recruitment, it's always an ongoing training issue. It's always good to have continuous training, because you can always learn something new, or you can always be refreshed on something that you'd forgotten about. So it's more that, to be fair, because we have gone through quite a bit of training here. It's not as if we haven't got complete novices. It's just that sometimes things get forgotten, things get missed, people start to panic, nervous. People are still very nervous of picking up the phone, unfortunately. I don't know why, but they do.
Okay, makes sense. I would like to say it's something I don't hear a lot, but I do, sadly, especially for the new generation. Do you mind if I ask a question about what you just said?
Yeah.
Because you mentioned like that the sometimes get nervous, but they go to training. So is it more that they don't get enough practice and they haven't gained that confidence, or is it just that they probably just doing it because they have to, and therefore they come across a bit robotic?
Yeah, I think a bit of both. But the training we've had has been more sort of one-to-one, away from the working environment type, which to me, I don't know if it works. And also, if somebody's listening to a call but they're not on the call, you can't really tell what's being said. And when you're trying to advise a consultant or a recruiter, I won't call them a consultant, but recruiters, when you're trying to advise recruiters what to say next, and you're not actually listening to that call, how can you do that?
Yeah, no.
So that's some of the experiences we've had with previous people that have helped us in the business.
I see. So essentially, you're thinking more of a like hands-on training where someone is going to be like, let's say, walking the floor, perhaps even making calls alongside them. Well, okay, that might be a bit weird from the regulation perspective, but yeah, like that type of presence that would essentially like help the consultants gain confidence instead of something away from the desks.
Yeah, rather than pulling somebody away and giving them hours and hours of theory, which is fine, but theory can soon be forgotten. And I don't like theory. I like more practical. I like actually getting on with it and doing it and making a few mistakes and learning from those mistakes.
Like a cold calling trainer that cold calls you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very much.
But look, it sounds like something that you've been combating for quite a while, and you've already taken some, like steps to fixing that, and it still is a bit of a problem. Are you at the point that you kind of like accepting that's the way things are, or are you still looking for solutions to this?
Yeah, we're still looking for solutions. We've parted company with the guy we were using before. Just got to a natural end, and we parted company. No issues, but we just said, look, for the time being, we'll press pause, and we'll look at revisiting if we wish to in the future. But at the moment, the feedback from the guys and girls here is that they don't want that kind of training again. They don't want to be pulled away, taught theory, barked at, and I think they want someone to put their arm around them a little bit, sit with them, make a few calls, listen to their actual calls that they're on, rather than sitting next to them and not listening to it and trying to advise based off what they're saying, which I don't know how you can do that. Unless you're listening to what's going on that call, I don't know how you can actually make any suggestions to it.
No, of course. But so was this the previous training? Was it mainly theory and just like, hey, this is it, gone, or was there also like practical parts, like like brainstorming, role playing? Like how did it look?
It was mainly theory, but we were sold a training package to start with, which didn't really materialise. There was a lot of storytelling going on, which is fine. I understand that sometimes people like to tell a story to make it memorable, to keep it in your head, but when you're telling too many stories and we're going off at tangents all the time, we should be doing what we need to be doing. It felt sometimes that we were wasting a bit of time.
Okay, that sounds frustrating, especially if you're paying for practical training on cold calling and you end up getting told a story about cold calling.
Exactly. That's what I was getting taught myself how to do it myself, and I'm thinking, it's not me you need to be training. It's everybody else.
Okay, fair enough. Look, it sounds frustrating. I will be transparent on one thing, is that I mainly do online myself training.
Okay.
I do occasionally do like power days where I show up and I'll spend the whole day with a team.
Yeah.
But the rest of what you mentioned, I think would be quite different. But would this be a deal breaker at this point from your perspective?
I'm not really interested in the online, if I'm being honest. I just don't feel it really works for me and for the team here. But I'd be quite interested in things like the power days, where we come in, we have a blast, and you get involved, and I'd be quite interested in things like that.
Okay. I'll tell you what. So if you're like, just looking at my, would you be against having a 30-minute sit down next week to throw some ideas around? This would probably be later on, because I think the best times for this type of things is like September, because that's when like the hottest, at least most recruitment markets, September is a crucial month. Yeah. But perhaps we could have a chat. You can fill me out. Well, not specifically, like not physically, but you can have an idea whether you like my style, and then if that works, I'm organizing a series of power day in around that time. So that might be something I'm more than happy to discuss with you.
Okay. And what's your name?
Giulio Segantini. I go by the weirdest cold calling trainer on LinkedIn.
Okay, the weirdest cold calling trainer on LinkedIn. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I quite like it. Well, you've had my attention for 9 minutes, which is very unusual, because I normally don't even take the call. So
that's a good sign, right?
Yes, definitely.
And what I would do as well, like I think I'll go your email. 1 second. So is that correct?
It is, yes.
Okay, perfect. So what I would suggest is, sorry, just let me have a second. What next week would you have time around either 3:30 on Tuesday?
Just bear with me, yeah.
Yeah, because it's a bit of a night, because I call a lot, so luckily the calendar is good.
Whereabouts are you based?
I'm actually in Italy right now.
Okay.
But I do travel to the UK for training. That's why I'm gonna do most of what I do online.
Okay. When are we looking? Next Tuesday is the 4th of June.
The 4th of June, yeah. At
Yeah.
even 3 o'clock I could do 3:30. Looks good.
Yeah, 3 o'clock's fine.
Perfect. Okay. I'm gonna drop you an invite. And by any chance, do you listen to the Recruitment Mentors podcast? Is that on your radar?
I have seen it, but I haven't listened to it.
It's just because I was in one of the episodes, just because I basically run through my whole this cold calling strategy. So it gives you a
Yeah.
bit of an idea of what is it that I would be teaching the guys. But
Yeah.
otherwise, what would be the one thing, like out of all the areas we discussed, like perhaps objections, I guess, would be probably your top priority to fix at this point.
Yeah, I think it's literally just that key questions, initial rapport building, appointment making, breakdown of rejection responses and things like that. Just the general sales stuff, but really somebody motivating that's going to go. And I want people to sit back and go, "Wow, that was fantastic." And
Okay.
the last trainer that we had just didn't do that. I didn't get that response from anybody. Everyone was just a bit. To start with, it was good, but then after a couple of sessions, it was, "Oh, this person tells too many stories, and the stories aren't relevant."
No, but I literally tell zero stories. It's all very practical. So that's. But I guess what we can do is like we'll have a call next week. What I'll do in the meantime, I'll send over. I put together a Wikipedia on cold calling, actually, where you have all the different topics. I'll start with the recruitment objections. That's what I'm going to send you. But you feel free to play around, and then your team can take a look as well. And I'd be surprised they don't look at that and say, "Okay, we like this." And then perhaps by next Tuesday we can already have a bit more of a conversation around how that could work.
Okay, not a problem at all.
Baba, did you get the invite, by the way?
Yeah, it's just arrived, so I will accept that now. So yeah, done that.
And I'm gonna send you. I'll drop you an email shortly with what we just discussed.
Okay, lovely. Not a problem at all.
Thank you very much, Warren. You have a great day.
You too. Take care. Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye.